Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Scorpio, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy. It could represent different people in your life, different aspects within yourself. We've all got our more high vibrational nature. We've all got our more kind of like fearful, insecure, immature, self-indulgent nature. And then we can struggle within ourselves about who we want to align with in the world, the people who are more hopeful and believing, the people who might keep repeating some old patterns and it kind of keeps us in our comfort zone. We can all be fearful of change. Some people could be battling within themselves. They'd maybe like to do life differently, but then, we got to deal with our fear and our insecurity about doing life differently. And then just the truth that some people are moving forward in life differently and they were willing to detach from an old way of living life and viewing life. And then that means, there's people in the world that are more aligned with our shadowy nature. And if we're in more codependent, fearful, insecurity, pride, ego, lust, greed, immaturity, those are people that we'd be in a relationship with. And then there's other people in the world that are more aligned with our hopeful, believing nature, and we have the free will to choose who we're going to align with or who we're not. So let's go look at the top row. The reason for the top row's reading is the Seven of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. And in High Vibe, the Seven of Cups Scorpio talks about that we could have been caught up in the illusion of the world because for maybe the first 30, 40 years of our life, we are kind of more caught up in the world and we do have to learn all these lessons and we do have these fears and insecurities about loving and believing in ourselves. And we can be confused is just what the Seven of Cups can be. That I thought some things that I was really going to enjoy, that I would love, that maybe some of those things that I made my life about and some of the people I could have gotten involved with, they're more caught up in the illusion of the world. They could be, which if you're making your life more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship or for the status or the ego or the image or codependency or whatever, it can seem like a more emotionally shallow, superficial relationship. And we find it confusing because we thought we were living life in a way that would make us happy, or we could get in a job in a career field that we thought would make us happy, and then it's not, and we're confused. And, so then high vibe people offer love to the situation. I also view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy. And they could kind of realize that if they keep moving forward the way they've been moving forward, it might be because they're being more manipulated by their ego, is what the Magician and the Hangman can talk about. I might feel stuck, is what the Hangman can talk about. But I don't know, maybe it'll get better, maybe things will change. Maybe other people will look at life differently. Maybe right now they're not looking at life differently. Maybe if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll look at life differently. Because that's all things that the Hangman can talk about, is looking at life differently. But as time goes by, which is what the Wheel of Fortune can talk about, and out of love for ourselves, and during the course of that experience, we do want to manifest our dreams into reality, and we want to be in things that we find emotionally fulfilling, and we do want things that are more deep and meaningful to us and more deep, meaningful relationships. And so then we do take that time to kind of, why do I stay stuck? Kind of living my life the way I live it. How do I need to look at life differently? And what are my dreams? And do I find this emotionally fulfilling? Is this my idea of what I wanted for my life that I wanted to manifest? And maybe I need to look at life differently and expand my perception of myself and how I view the world and how I view life and how I view relationships. And then when I expand my perception, that's what the hangman talks about. When I expand my perception of what I believe is possible, and I do maybe listen more to my intuition to guide me. Scorpio energy is fixed sign energy. When we've put work and effort into something, we'd really like it to work. But, you know, other people that we could be working with need to work with us to make things work. And we can have a hard time about believing that maybe I could go get a different job, a different friend, get in a different relationship, because I do feel maybe manipulated. Sometimes people are very loving, nurturing people, and sometimes we're in relationships with other people who try to use our love that we have for them or our loving nature to manipulate us and kind of keep us stuck because they know we're a loving person or that we love them. And it's like, but I don't want to invest in an illusion, you know? Are we all motivated and inspired by love? Are we all treating each other the way we like to be treated? Are we treating other people the way we like to be treated? Love is supposed to be just and fair. And as people go through this process and look at life differently, and then also the hangman can be about realizing not everybody looks at life from the same perspective you do. There can be people in the world that do harness a more shadowy Scorpio energy within themselves who just create an illusion they harness high vibe Scorpio energy. Oh yeah, I am up for love. Yep. No, I'm not prideful. No, I'm not egotistical. I'm not stubborn. I don't want to keep repeating an old pattern. I don't manipulate people. You know, but then as you move forward, it can feel like things are stuck, like things aren't ever moving forward, that we're not moving forward in a more deep, meaningful relationship. And, you know, if it's a romantic relationship, relationships are supposed to grow over time. But everybody can have their way of viewing life and how they view relationships and if they want to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship or not, how comfortable they are tapping into their emotions. Scorpio does represent our deep emotional nature, and are we willing to explore the mysteries of life emotionally? Or in our Scorpio nature, do we kind of, you know, because we're also emotionally complex and it can be confusing, that some people are like, you know, I want to be in relationships, but I find my emotions confusing. I kind of like to being in a relationship to a certain degree, but I have this way of doing things. And with the Queen of Cups facing that way, the queens can talk about how we think and feel. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. I have a way of doing it and doing life, and kind of like how I like to use my emotions. And I might not really feel capable of doing a more deep, meaningful relationship. I kind of might be in my ego about trying to figure out why and looking at life differently. I have a way of viewing life, how I like to live my life, how I view relationships, and I might want to stay in a relationship with you and I might want to keep moving forward with you, but I want to keep moving forward, harnessing my Scorpio nature the way I harness it, and you can be the way you are. But if you're someone who's motivated and inspired and believes in love and has a dream of being in more deep, meaningful relationships, and you're in a relationship with someone who kind of isn't on that page, as time goes by, they might feel stuck about moving forward with you, and you might feel stuck about continuing to move forward with them, and everybody could be thinking, you know, I'd kind of like to be in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as me. And everybody could be high vibe, but on the continuum of people kind of motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, to what degree of are we willing to explore the mysteries of life emotionally? Some people like, yeah, I'm motivated and inspired by love, but I'm much more, you know, still kind of maybe manipulated a little bit more by my ego, which can just be being a little more defensive. Can't we do it like I've done it relationships with other people? Why do we have to do life differently? That was great. Let's do that. And we're just not on the same page. And then some of the people aren't who they said they were, tried to emotionally confuse us about the truth of who they were. And then that's confusing because someone presented themselves. There can be people we get in relationships with, and they are kind of like a loving and nurturing person, and that's why we got in a relationship. And we thought they view life like we view life. We're on the same page. But then we can kind of find out that it can be a little bit more for the ego and the image. Like, I like to get in relationships, be nurturing and kind of loving to them, because it could be good for my ego and my image. So it's kind of like using their emotions manipulatively. Like, their intentions aren't, it's more for the ego and the image, or I like to be in a relationship, but it's not more motivated by love, even though they can be a loving and encouraging person in the relationship to a degree, where it's a loving and supportive environment for you. And it can help you kind of, when generally, well, I guess we can't say generally, but a lot of people, when they're in a loving and supportive environment, it gives them the opportunity to look at life differently. And you getting in relationships with certain people can kind of change how they view themselves and how they view the world. You getting in relationships with some people, we can both be like loving and encouraging people to each other. And it does help us maybe change our perspective about what we believe is possible and how we view people and how we view relationships. But we still, that could have been the whole reason why we got in the relationship and why we were drawn and attracted to each other, and we didn't even know that. The hangman is Pisces energy, also kind of represented by the moon card. That, there's things kind of buried in our subconscious about why we are drawn and attracted to certain people. And I think we are kind of drawn to certain people because there are these things kind of hidden in our subconscious about issues we didn't even maybe know we needed to work through. And then we're kind of maybe looking for people that we can help them, they can help us to work through some issues, but we can work through those issues. But then when it comes to moving forward in the relationship and like taking the relationship to like the next phase of life, some people we weren't really meant to maybe move to the next phase of life with them. Some people come in our life to help us work through some of those issues, and we came into their life to help them work through some of those issues. But also in Pisces energy, it's kind of like the divine has a bigger plan, and you'll be attracted to certain people to work through those issues, but there's a bigger plan at play. And that can all be confusing because we as human beings like to think, well, no, if I love this person or they love me, we're supposed to want to stay in a relationship forever. But kind of going on that next leg of the journey, we might not be the right person to help them through that next leg of the journey, and they might not be the person to help us on that next leg of the journey. And so the whole thing is, if we're willing to get out of our pride and ego and go with the flow, and if we offer love to the situation so we don't get more manipulated by our ego, we can work through all of that. Even though it's extremely difficult, it can be extremely painful. I've had people choose to go with the flow. I don't want to stay in negative energy. I don't want to stay stuck. I don't want to stay maybe defensive or fearful, especially if people were just creating an illusion. Now I don't trust other people. What if other people are creating an illusion? But the whole thing is, the more that you keep going on the journey of life, the more, and you keep seeing the truth that I'm going to offer love to the situation, offer love to me. I am going to listen to my intuition. I could have been more manipulated in my loving nature. I could have indulged people in poor behavior. I could have indulged myself in poor behavior. We've all got our more worldly egoic nature, and it can manipulate us. And, it's kind of like we can't have our divine, we can't have our divine inheritance until we're illuminated to all these truths that we need to learn. We need to see the truth that some people do create an illusion. We do need to see the truth that some people get in relationships for shadowy reasons and they're trying to confuse us about the truth. That some people are more motivated by the ego or the image or the lust or the greed or whatever. And we need to learn all those lessons so that when we do have what is meant for us, we're still not more naive, gullible, thinking, oh, everybody's got the best interest and is a just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally mature person they present themselves as. It's like, no, they're not. And we can be very loving, but we also need to listen to our intuition, and we also have to get out of our ego and deal with the truth. And everybody's got free will. We can be in relationships with people. We're on the same path. And then people can kind of drift off the path. And we have to be willing to see the truth when people are drifting off the path. I can love you, but I'm not going to be manipulated. And I'm not going to stay stuck in something where someone is kind of emotionally turning their back to me, but because they think, because I love them, or we've started to manifest this new beginning, that I'm not willing to move on from it if I see the truth that they're creating more of the illusion of love, but not really being loving. You know? And some people who could have tried that in your life to manipulate you or get you in a relationship and then try to get you kind of stuck and trapped with them. Some people did see the truth. Some people right now are seeing the truth. And they're seeing through the illusion. It's just like people who are like, oh my gosh, my biggest goal, like I want to get married. And then they get in the marriage and they were, presenting themselves as more loving and nurturing to manipulate the person into thinking they were this more authentically loving person, but they were just manipulating them and operating more from their pride and ego. And then once they get them in it, then it's like, cool, now you put in the work and effort to make this a just and fair and nurturing and loving relationship. I have my ways of being, and I'm going to keep doing that. But you keep maintaining the illusion. You keep putting in the work and effort. You're in your pride and ego about getting out of it, right? What would people say? And it's just like high vibe people adhere to a higher truth and justice. This is unjust. This is unfair. And I am willing to listen to my intuition and love and believe in myself, not to let people manipulate my loving nature or people who I think were manipulative from the beginning and not truthful or somehow kind of went off path. I'm not willing to kind of give up my dreams for the illusion or whatever. I'm not willing to settle for the illusion. And I do have hope and faith and belief in my dreams, and I'm going to do that work within myself to move away from people who, if it's in my family, in my workplace, in my community, I can treat everyone with love and respect and treat them the way I want to be treated. And if I think those people seem to be a little more manipulative, a little more stubborn, a little more prideful, a little more stubborn or something, I'm going to wish them peace, and I'm going to kind of keep my distance from them and invest more of my time and energy into people who I think really are who they say they are, not people who, the magician, and that's a masculine figure, doesn't have really anything to do with men, but the masculine figures in tarot can represent how we present ourselves in the world, because that's considered masculine energy, because people don't really know how we think and feel. And so we can all present ourselves as an emperor, we can all present ourselves as a manifester, we can all present ourselves as someone who looks at life from a higher perspective. I'm not prideful, I'm not egotistical, I'm not more about myself, I'm not more about looking like a shining star in the world, but they are. If emotionally that is their truth, they just try to create an illusion, go out there in the world, they're actually in kind of more shadowy energy, and they go out there in the world trying to present themselves as someone who people can have a more deep, meaningful relationship with. But behind their back, they're hiding that they could be just getting in a relationship because they're in their ego about someone else. They could be getting in a relationship because they're trying to manipulate someone else. Or they're in the relationship because of their ego, or the image or the status. It makes it look like they've moved on. It looks like they've changed. It looks like they've looked at life differently. It looks like they've grown and healed and matured. But they haven't. It's all just an illusion to try to confuse people about the truth of who they really are. And some other people already moved on because those people did see the truth. So then they go try it with someone else. And some of those people are trying it with someone else. And the next people they're in a relationship, they can all get caught up in the illusion. But then, it doesn't seem to become a more deep, meaningful relationship. They don't have that new beginning. I thought, we were going to work together, if it's jobs or friendships or relationships, and I thought things were going to move forward. And it kind of keeps seeming like we keep staying in the same spot. And that never happens. So in the bottom row can be the more shadowy energy that people can harness. That in shadowy high priestess can be that people are hiding. The high priestess is people harnessing a more shadowy Cancer Pisces energy where I have these illusions about relationships. And I kind of maybe have illusions about me. And I indulge me, and I think other people should indulge me. And I use my intuition in a shadowy way. I think I can manipulate people to get them to do what I want. And I'll use my emotions manipulatively. I'll use my looks or my charm or my sexuality or my financial resources or whatever I got to try to manipulate people to get them to do what I want. Some people could have authentically been loving, and some other people were hiding that they harness this energy in a shadowy way. The moon. Which can mean they don't want to listen, they don't really want to listen to their intuition. They use their intuition in a more shadowy way. Their intuition could be telling them, you shouldn't be doing this. You, shadowy emperor, can be where people are trying to control other people. So they use their intuition in a shadowy way to try to manipulate and control people. To get them to move forward in a relationship, it would make them look like a shining star. It would look like they moved forward in life. It looked like they got over someone. That they have closed out an old chapter in their life, that they're not the same person they were before. But they really are. Or that the truth is, they really don't plan to bring that dream into reality. The world can be like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. This is not going to become a more deep, meaningful relationship. As long as this works for me and it's good for my ego and my image, so long as the people I'm in a relationship are caught up in the illusion of who I am, so long as those people are still willing to invest in the illusion, I'll keep moving forward with them. But I'm not going to listen to my higher self, which is more about truth and love and justice and fairness. No. I'm in my ego about doing that. I could get hurt doing that. No, I'm going to keep trying to control things and making it more about me, more about my wants, my needs, my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego. And if the other people ever want to move forward in a more deep, meaningful relationship, well, then I'm done. And because they were hiding, that it was where they weren't really more authentically investing in it. They might be in their ego about it, but they'll just go get in a relationship with someone else because they don't really authentically more emotionally invest in people. It's more to get in a relationship, to look like they've moved on. Other people saw the truth of who they are. Those people moved on. Let's try to get in a relationship with someone else. maybe trying to find someone who's more on the same page as them. But a lot of times, shadowy people, they might not be very. The moon can be that people are hiding. They have a lot of fears and insecurities that they keep buried beneath the surface. They could be really afraid, maybe because of life experiences they've had, that if you let yourself love people because they could have had experiences with people who they loved at one point in time in their life, who they viewed as loving, but those people were more shadowy and controlling and egotistical or more about themselves. And they found it really confusing. And then they could have just given up on love. Well, now I don't trust anyone. So now I've aligned with the dark side. I'm not going to do love anymore either. Or they loved people. They saw that some people who were loving got manipulated. They saw other people control and manipulate other people. And they made the free will choice. That's how I'm going to move forward in the world. I'm not, it's kind of like viewing their loving nature and loving people as naive, gullible people who can be manipulated. And they're not going to be one of those people. They're going to be someone who is the one who manipulates people. They could know people in their life who decided to get in relationships with someone more for the money or the status or the ego or the image instead of love. And it seemed to look great by worldly standards. So then they decided they're going to follow that path. And that's what they're going to do. Because if they think the most important thing is to have a certain status or image in the world, that can be like Aries and the Aquarius energy represented by the star card. I look like I manifested something that's victorious and successful. I look victorious and successful. I may be in a relationship with someone who's loving or nurturing and supportive. That looks good for my ego and my image. But whoever, male or female, or whatever the situation was, they could have known that someone, and that's kind of like a shadowy relationship here, might come out at the end. We're going to ask, what's an outcome for people? That would be like a shadowy Taurus relationship. A high vibe Taurus relationship is where everybody's kind of walking the talk. They're willing to get out of their ego. They have hope and faith and belief in love. They're willing to look at things from other people's perspectives. You know, we can be in friendships and relationships and workplaces with people, and those people can come up with things and look at life a certain way that we would have never looked at from that perspective or thought of. And then sometimes we're the ones who look at things from a different perspective that the other people wouldn't have thought of or didn't see from that vantage point. And so we work cooperatively together because we're learning new things. And some people are open to learning new things. But some people are very resistant to learning new things. No, I have my way of viewing life. That is my truth. That's how I want to move forward. That's how we should view life. That's how we should live life. And we don't look at life from any other perspective. But again, sometimes those more shadowy people try to get in a relationship with people and move forward with people who don't have that same perspective. And as time goes by, the more high vibrational people see the truth of it, and then they don't want to keep moving forward with some of those people. You know, and we've all probably, if you've had a job, you know, worked with different people in our life who might look like they would be someone that people want to keep moving forward with, and people invest in them and they want to manifest with them, or maybe they're just attractive or charming or good looking if it's more personal, and maybe have status or image or whatever, and people are kind of caught up in the illusion of them. But then as time goes by and they're trying to bring this dream into reality, they kind of realize that their truth is different and their motivations are different, and that sometimes some people just kind of want to be in it more for the status or the image or the paycheck, but they don't really put more work and effort to move things forward. It's kind of like wanting to ride on the coattails. And that's the same thing with getting in a relationship with more loving people. You know, some people are like, well, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone like me because I'm kind of bossy and controlling and stubborn. And I try to hide that I try to manipulate people. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's manipulating me. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's stubborn. I want to be in relationships with people who try to see things from my perspective and people who put a lot of work and effort to move things forward in a relationship to bring this dream into reality. That's great. You keep putting in all that work and effort. That works for me. And I'll keep kind of coasting along with you until you kind of see that you're kind of the only one doing that, and that I kind of create the illusion that I'm on board, that I'm willing to move forward with you in that way, but I never really do. It never really happens. You know? Like people at work, like, oh no, I'll change, or oh no, yeah, I'm going to learn how to do that. Oh yeah, no, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to get it going here, but it never happens. And eventually the employer's like, you know what? I think we found someone else. It's been really nice working with you, but I don't think we're a right fit, you know? And then when the people who like to coast, but think they're the boss and could be a little full of themselves and don't want to listen to their intuition and see the truth that maybe they should look at life a little differently, would maybe be a little beneficial because this pattern of things not working out, this illusion they had of how they thought things were going to work out, it doesn't work out that way, but they keep being refusing to want to see the truth. And high vibe, the pentacle is about seeing the truth, and it is about healing and growing and maturing yourself and loving yourself and treating other people the way you like to be treated, and getting out of being more about yourself or more about in your ego or trying to manipulate and control people. But for some people, that's how they operate in the world. And they just, the way they could look at life, because they always create an illusion and they're more about themselves and they live more from their mind than their heart. Some of them, they think everybody else is doing that too, and they can't understand how other people kind of keep putting on a better illusion than they do. But it's like, it's not, you know, because it's like, it would be someone who's like, has a mentality of like a 15-year-old, but as they become 18 and 21 and 25, and other people are detaching from their more immature, stubborn, whatever ways of being, and they really are growing and maturing themselves, they think those people have just like learned how to conduct themselves better and they pull it off better. It's like, but they're not creating illusion. They really did shed an old layer of themselves. They loved that phase of life when they were in it, but you know, it's time to grow up. It's time to make some better decisions in my life. It's time to see the truth that I need to look at life differently, and I need to have more hope and faith and belief in myself, and I need to put an end to these more immature ways of being that I invest in, and invest in facing my fears to move to the next phase of life and put that old way of life behind me. But some people, it's like they're perpetually like a 15-year-old. They're just trying to act like they're more mature and stable and grounded and balanced than they really are, you know? But you have to get out. The bottom row can just represent our more prideful, egotistical nature, where their intuition again can be telling them, you should knock some of these things off. This is not serving you well, you know? But they refuse to listen to their intuition. And they think, I don't have to listen to my intuition. I'm smart. I can use my intuition in a shadowy way. It's like being a scam artist in the world. I could use all my traits and skills and my emotions and my creative nature and my inspired nature and my intellect and my resources to be a more productive citizen in the world. But no, I'm going to try to use all those things to try to get what I want and not have to see the truth that maybe I'm more about myself. Maybe I'm prideful and egotistical. Maybe I have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. I keep thinking the way I go about it is going to work, and it keeps not working because they keep not listening to their intuition. Why wouldn't we listen to our intuition? Because we listened to our intuition before. We've all probably, well, depending on how much people have dated or something, right? Where we've told friends, like, oh my gosh, you have to help me pick the next person I get in a relationship with because my picker is off. Well, we have healing and growing and maturing to do. We have to love and believe in ourselves. We have to quit thinking we're the boss and that we can change people. The Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords. That everybody is who they are. They view life the way they view it. But we can think, oh no, I'm this loving person. I can make people look at life from a different perspective. And we keep trying to change people, and it probably keeps not working. If they were motivated and inspired to be a different type of person, quit being immature, quit being bossy, quit being stubborn, quit being immature, they wouldn't be that type of person. And that's what some high vibe people realized. I don't have to change other people. I need to figure out why I do this. Why do I get in relationships with certain people? Am I a very loving person? And then I get in relationships and I don't want to see the truth, or, because I keep having this more hopeful, believing spirit that people can change. I need to deal with the truth. But we got all these lessons to learn. We'll repeat that pattern over and over until we finally see the truth. I'm going to quit trying to change other people. Can I be a loving and encouraging person to other people to try to help them maybe have a little more hope and faith and belief in the world or in themselves or in love? Yeah, and then I keep moving on. And I keep moving on until they work through their own issues of not being that type of person, if they make that free will choice to look at life differently, and they start looking at life differently and having more hope and faith and belief in themselves, where we're more on the same page. And if my intuition tells me that some of those people have learned lessons in life, and just like we at times in our life, we were repeating some patterns, and there's people in our life like, oh my gosh, I love them. Why do they keep doing this? Do they not see this does not work? But, we've all got growing up and maturing to do, and we've all got lessons learned the hard way. And for a long time, we don't listen to our intuition because Aries energy is about the self. We all want these things that we want. Aries energy is also fire sign energy. We want to go indulge and invest and do these things that we want to go do. And we love those things, and we could love those people, and we want to manifest a dream, and we're sure we got it going on, that our idea is a good idea. And, pride comes before the fall. And it happens enough times. Eventually it's just like, shit, what am I not seeing here? And then it's to like, why don't I love and believe in myself enough? I can be a loving person, and I could have rejected loving people. Why? Oh no, I'm going to change these people. I'm going to try to make these, kind of makes me think of, it can be confusing if you, depending on maybe what religious philosophy you grew up with, but you grow up learning being loving and encouraging and supportive and having hope and faith and belief in love. But like when Jesus and the disciples went out to go spread the good news, they didn't sit and cry at everybody's feet and stay stuck in their ego. But God, this person won't change. And oh my gosh, no, I'm not going to move forward to any of those other people. I got to try to change these people. And God's like, see the truth. You spread the good news and then you move on your way. and you let them work through their own philosophy of life, and if they want to keep living their life the way they live it, or if they want to follow you and have a more hopeful, believing spirit and want to hang out with people who are more emotionally mature and just and fair and all that, but they also have to be invested in being that type of person. And there'll always be more shadowy people like Judas, maybe, who want to come with for whatever reason, right? And we need to deal with the truth of it, get out of our ego, be loving and encouraging to people, and keep moving on our way. And let other people make their free will choice. We are not the boss. We are not supposed to, like, you know, it's kind of like high vibe energy at the big picture represented by God is about giving birth to new things. If we let other people who are still manipulated by things keep us stuck with them and stop us from moving forward, then it's kind of like the devil getting two birds with one stone. And it's like, no, I'm going to wish you peace and love and I'm going to keep moving on. If that's not your truth, if that's not how you want to move forward, if you're not willing to quit being more about yourself or being more about the world or more about your ego or repeating these old patterns of ways of living life or viewing relationships, I've already lived that phase of life. I've already been in relationships with people who act certain ways and behave certain ways. I've already seen I don't like it. And I'm moving on. But again, just like people can be like a 15-year-old, 18, 21, 25, everybody is at different stages of life of how they view life and how they view relationships and what they think is just and fair and what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. And it doesn't matter if you're 45 and 55. You can meet people that are the same age as you, but it is like they're still kind of living life in a phase of life, and you maybe already experienced that. And it's like, yeah, no, I wish you luck. Hope you see through it. But I can try to enlighten people to the truth. Like, I think someone's trying to manipulate you. I think somebody's manipulating your loving nature. I think someone's trying to control you. I think someone's more about themselves or their ego. But we can't make people see that. And we wish them peace and we keep moving on. And then high vibe energy is about being more independent, being a good leader in the world. And while some people are trying to be a good leader in the world, there's going to be people on the opposite side of the spectrum who think they're all that, are more about aligned with their more worldly, egoic image, as more about you or these things you indulge in. That's living the dream or having power or status or whatever, and what they wear and what they drive. And they're trying to find people who are more on the same page as them, some of them. Because they don't want to. High vibe emperor would be where you really are a good leader in the world and you really are making good decisions in your life, and when your decisions would affect other people that you're in relationship with, you take them into consideration. And there's some people who want to look like that type of person or just look victorious and successful or have a certain status and image in the world, but it's really more about them and their status and their image or being indulged or them indulging someone else who has those things that they want, because secretly their truth is they're more about the world, and the truth is other people in the world have been enlightened to the truth that love is what makes it all worthwhile. If I'm in a job that pays me money and has status and image and power or whatever, and I hate it, if I'm in a relationship where I'm fearful, if I'm in a relationship where I'm being manipulated, if I'm having to be in a relationship where I'm having to keep manipulating other people, or I'm in a job where I feel like I'm manipulated, where I feel stuck, I mean, we all have the free will to manifest what we want into reality. But we have to have hope and faith and belief in ourselves to be willing to listen to our intuition. And I think the people who listen to their intuition, because your intuition, I think, was given to you as a gift, just like bats have sonar. You know, they don't question it, but we as human beings, no, 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 no. My intuition is telling me I should leave. My intuition tells me I should stop this and do that. And I think our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world. But we all got lessons to learn about that, and some people still got some hard lessons to learn. And some of the things they go pursue aren't going to turn out the way they think, because they're not listening to their intuition. They're either rejecting it outright. My intuition could be telling me to do love, but I get hurt doing love. I'm not going to do that. I think I can control things. Or my intuition tells me I'm doing this more out of pride and ego, and I shouldn't do that, but I think I'm so smart, I think I can manipulate the situation, and I think I can manipulate the people, and I think it'll go in my favor. Their intuition is trying to tell them it might move forward in the way you want, but it is going to kind of stop you from growing to your full potential, and you're going to be investing in an illusion. And we all thrive best in the energy of a loving and encouraging and supportive environment. And if they are trying to manipulate more loving people, eventually the loving people see the truth of it, and the loving people want to be in a relationship with other people who are loving and encouraging and supportive, not just people who create the illusion of being that. So, high vibe people are offering love to the situation, seeing who in their life that might want them to keep moving forward with them in friendships or relationships of some sort that they feel are manipulating them or in the relationship with them for the wrong reasons, and seeing how they could be tempted to keep moving forward in certain things and relationships more out of their ego. And it's like, is that really what I want to do? Is that the life I want to manifest? Or do I want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships? And I'm willing to get out of my pride and ego. And if there's people in my life that I need to let move on ahead of me or away, I'm going to let them go. And if there's some people I should communicate with or invest in who I do think are more on the same page as me, I'm going to do that. Not everybody I reach out to that I think is on the same page as me is on the same page as me, and I have to accept the truth of that too. And I just believe that the divine has a plan for my life, and I keep moving forward, investing in the people in my life who do work together with me in that way, and other aspects that are part of the dream of my life. Enjoying my life, enjoying my career, enjoying my friends and family. If I don't have that special friendship or relationship, but I want to be available when I meet those type of people, instead of getting in myself in a relationship that I decided, well, this makes logical, practical sense, and it's probably not going to turn out the way I wanted anyway. You know? And some people are in those type of situations. You know, we have to make these decisions in life. If I want to keep being this way, it's hard to move forward with people that are going that way, right? We have to make these decisions, and that's what the Emperor is about. So some people could be behind the scenes doing some shadow work, to do this work within themselves, to try to make a decision and work through their fears of maybe stop moving forward in some things or ways of being, and to speak their truth and illuminate the truth and invest in the truth of what they would really like to move forward in. And if they're tempted more in their shadow nature of ego, then it's to work through that. Of why would I be tempted to do that? I have loving and encouraging people in my life. Why wouldn't I keep moving forward with them? If I decide to operate more out of my ego, and try to confuse people about the truth, why would I do that? And so people just kind of have to decide, is what I'm investing in my truth? Are other people investing in me based on truth and love? Am I willing to speak my truth? And for some people, they'd like to speak their truth, but then they could get caught up more in their fear and their insecurity and their pride and their ego, and they keep staying stuck. And because they keep staying stuck, other people listen to their intuition that apparently either they're stuck, or maybe they're more manipulated by their pride and their ego or things like that. So I'm going to keep moving on. We're either on the same page or we're not. Either people are available and free to be on the same page as you, or they got their things they need to work through or get out of, or ways of viewing life or something. And if we're not on the same page, we're not on the same page. And I believe the divine has a plan for my life. And I'm not going to keep staying stuck. And I'm going to keep moving forward, trusting that the divine has a plan for my life. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy that they might not see coming up? As they keep investing in themselves, in their dreams, investing their time, energy, and effort in people who do work together with them in a more just and fair and loving way. Distance themselves from people in their life who they feel might try to are more manipulative. The Queen of Wands. Why? Because of the Ten of Swords. So the Tens can talk about completing a cycle. So as people kind of do this shadow work within themselves, they kind of see the truth that if I want my dreams to come into reality, I need to keep going with the flow. I need to put an end to, I don't know, maybe just sitting and observing, because the High Priestess can kind of represent that. Kind of hoping and trying to manifest something in the Magician and Pisces. I have this dream. We can spend all of our time trying to manifest something into reality, and it does start in the more emotionally intuitive realm and creative realm. But other people have to be on that kind of manifesting that same thing. And we can be kind of focusing on our attention and energy on people who it's like that's not their truth. If that was their truth, they may be coming towards us. But regardless, we keep moving forward and we kind of be open to all of the possibilities. And so as we do that, we put an end to being more in our ego, which is shadowy Queen of Wands energy. And complete a cycle of thinking we can control things, or thinking that, the divine controls things. And everybody is where they're at and they're making their decisions, and I do have to accept the truth. If there's some people that aren't investing in me, then I need to see that that's not their truth for whatever reason. They could be in their own wonderful, loving relationships and friendships and not looking to add anyone else to the mix. Or they could be in more shadowy energy and I wasn't seeing them clearly. Either case, I get out of my ego about it and I am willing to believe in the possibilities, to explore the mysteries of life, and then I've completed a cycle and I've let that old cycle go because some of the people I wanted to manifest in that from that cycle aren't moving forward with me. And there's other people that are going to keep moving forward with me because they're doing that work within themselves too, and they're wanting to complete an old cycle. And we're all in high vibe Leo energy, kind of facing our fears to love and believe in ourselves, and we keep moving forward and wondering what God has in store for us next. And we have to understand that sometimes when some people aren't investing in us, even though, that sometimes it is because people are trying to manipulate us. It's like, I do want to move forward in a relationship with you. That would seem like a dream come true, but I'm not willing to close out a cycle of operating more from my egoic nature, which can be my stubborn nature, being more about me. We have to keep living life like this. I don't want to move forward and step out of my comfort zone. It's like, I can't keep living my life repeating this pattern. If you want to keep living your life that way, you can, but you need to find someone else because I feel like it's more being caught up in the illusion. And I don't feel like people are being more authentic and loving and warm. It's more ego or indulgence of indulging himself in the relationship instead of being more authentic and loving. And I want a more deep, meaningful relationship. So you're moving forward and you will look like the Queen of Wands, which high vibe, whether male or female. Emotionally, you look like someone who is a loving person, who believes in themselves, that isn't operating from ego, is moving forward in truth and love, and that you have lots of options available. And you're not letting other people control and manipulate you. You're not letting your fear, your insecurity manipulate you. You're not trying to create an illusion. You are authentically who you say you are. And other people see the truth of it and it's like, so you're not just wearing a false mask and you really aren't trying to confuse people and manipulate people and control people. Yeah, I want to hang out with you. I've already hung out with people that are like that. I don't like them either. And I'm not that type of person. So, and you'll listen to your intuition about who's who, because there's always other people who want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And it's like, nope, been there, done that. Or I will get to know you. And as time goes by, or if at some time I see that we're not on the same path anymore, I am willing to get out of my ego about it and let you do you. What's coming in for the more shadowy people? The Strength card. Why? Because of the King of Swords. So, the more worldly, shadowy people, their truth is, I do view the King of Swords can be a person's more self-protective nature. Like, I can't let you, my more hopeful, believing, loving nature go out in the world. They could get hurt. So then the King of Swords is kind of like their self-protective nature. And then they're operating more from shadowy Leo energy of their ego. And when you detach from your more egoic, shadowy nature, you also detach from people in your life that could have wanted to move forward with you in a relationship, but they're still in more shadowy energy. They want you in more shadowy energy. And you're like, which can just be codependency, indulging them indulging you or something, codependency, whatever. And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. And when you change, then, if those people were to come with you or want to come with you, they have to do this work within themselves. But to learn some lessons in life and do all that work within yourself, that can take years and decades, and some people will never do it. And if they keep not doing it, they're kind of stuck about either their ego and their image, not being able to control and manipulate people in a relationship, or they know they'd have to speak the truth and act in truth and love, and they like to live more from their mind than their heart. So they're probably going to keep doing that, some people who are more ego-based. And because they are, and like I say, a lot of kind of more shadowy people like to be in relationships with more loving, nurturing, warm people because they don't really like being in relationships with people who are like them. And it's always great to be in loving, nurturing with loving, nurturing people. And they probably have some loving, nurturing people who harness some high vibe Leo and Libra energy. But they harness shadowy Leo, Libra, and Scorpio energy. But they can always have high vibe people in their life that are trying to offer them love and encouragement to listen to their intuition, get more balanced, But eventually, other people see that they're not willing, that they either want to stay in their comfort zone, and they have this certain way of viewing life, and they want to keep living their life like that. Whatever it is, there's something, a way of living in the past that they want to keep investing in. And it could just be, I am just more emotionally shallow and superficial, and I am more about the world and me and money and materialism. Or they like to play this role in people's life, but then the problem is when they like to view themselves, and again, a lot of them could be kind of loving, nurturing people, but it's more for their benefit. Like, I want those people to view me as that type of person. I will be that type of person in their life, but it's more for me and my ego and my image, kind of a mini me, for them to invest in me, not for them to grow to their full potential, and I'm willing to move forward with them growing to my full potential too. No, I want to be loving and nurturing so they'll move forward with me, but then I don't ever have to like grow or heal or mature myself in any way. I don't have to ever look at life differently. I don't have to look at the things that manipulate me. All the things that manipulate me, I want to keep bringing with me. But you can work through some of your stuff so long as you don't quit being more aligned with your more worldly egoic nature, so you keep staying in a relationship with me. you know and if other people work through, just complete a cycle where I'm just not the same person I was anymore, then they don't like that, because those people tempered their more worldly egoic nature, and their truth is, I am more driven and motivated by my worldly egoic nature. And they might have some people in their life that they think are going to move forward with them to bring a dream into reality. But those people also could have been doing this work, and that relationship will come to an end. And those people are now, part of this whole process can be to get people to temper their fears and insecurities. That's like high vibe Leo energy. And temper their more loving nature, where they can indulge people in poor behavior because they're a very loving person. And it's like, I have to quit letting people manipulate my loving nature. And I need to stand up for what I believe in, and that's truth and justice and fairness. And that's when some of those people are like, eek, yeah, no, this is over. I gotta go find someone else to go manipulate. But if they do find someone, or are in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as them, it's just other people who are more motivated and inspired to get in a relationship, stay in a relationship. This makes logical, practical sense. This makes me look like I'm moving forward in a way that looks very successful. I might be hiding. It's not really love. It's kind of more the illusion of love. But we look like we have what other people have. It's just that those people aren't operating from ego, and we are operating more out of ego. And other people aren't willing to be in it and stay in it more because it makes logical, practical sense. It's because of love. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.